Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Suburban Proletarian. Please excuse my appearance. I'm coming straight from work. It's been a really hectic week. We've had a lot of snow this week and all that entails. And I've been trying to keep a schedule where I'm making one video per week and releasing it on the weekend. And I missed my deadline this past weekend, and I really want to squeeze in another unboxing because I'm really looking forward to getting this watch onto my wrist and start evaluating it for an upcoming review. I've been looking at a couple of other watches that I did unboxings of recently. Most recently, the Citizen Promaster Tough, which, as I explained in the last video, is the watch that sort of precipitated this whole buying splurge. I got a lot of recommendations for this watch as a result of my review of the Victorinox Inox last year, or Enox, and a lot of people recommended the Citizen Promaster Tough as a very viable alternative to the Enox. And so far, I'm very, very, very impressed. It features Citizen's excellent Eco Drive system. It's a pretty standard three-hand field watch. It features Citizen's Duratect plating, which is a titanium nitride plating that's supposed to be 5 times harder than steel. I have experienced a little bit of scratching, as I talked about in the last video, and we'll talk about that a bit more over on the tabletop. The interesting thing about the Citizen Promaster Tough is it's not just a single watch. It's a line of watches. Now, most of them are very similar to this one. Three-hand field watches. There's a couple of choices of colors and straps, just as there is some diversification in the Victorinox Inox line. Now, that's a little bit more diverse. They've got carbon fiber cases and titanium cases and stainless steel cases and all sorts of color and strap options. There are a few different color and strap options with the original Citizen Promaster Tough, but there's one completely different watch. Well, it shares a lot of the same DNA, but this is the Citizen Promaster Tough Chronograph. Specifically, the model number is ca0720-54h, and I've probably talked long enough, so let's go over to the tabletop and take a look at this Citizen. I promise this will be the last Citizen unboxing for a while. Okay, so once again, this is a Citizen factory refurbished watch. So regardless of whatever kind of box you would expect your watch to come in, if you were paying full retail for it, whatever you buy, factory refurbished from Citizen is going to come in one of these very plain and generic black cardboard boxes. Just has a sleeve that slides off, and we've got a lift open cardboard box, and we open that to reveal the Citizen Promaster Tough Chronograph. Again, this is the ca0720-54h, and it's just nested on a little pillow in there. There's some paperwork in there, nothing too important. These watches do not come with manuals. Not that you should need a manual for a simple chronograph like this one, and they don't come with Citizen's factory warranty, whatever that is. The distributor in the United States who's selling these Citizen factory refurbs offers a 2-year U.S. warranty, but it's recently been brought to my attention that their customer service is not the best, so hopefully I won't need to try to exercise that warranty. Try not to stretch this out too long. The watch is just nested on a little pillow, and there it is. And it looks pretty good. The seconds hand is hitting all of the pips exactly correctly. The chronograph second hand is reasonably well aligned. The chapter ring is well aligned. The bezel ring is well aligned. Now, I will go into this all in much more depth when I do the review. One of the things that has annoyed quite a few people is this bezel ring. It is a coin-edged bezel ring. It does have dive timer looking markings on it. One might expect it to be a rotating dive timing bezel. It is not. It is absolutely fixed. And I'll get into that a little bit during the review. It doesn't bother me too much, although it is a little weird. We'll get into that later on. We've got a tag here, which gives the particular information for the watch. There's the model number. There's the MSRP. I didn't pay anything like that. There's the obligatory Made in Japan legend, even though if you look carefully at the dial, it says Japan Movement. Parts of this watch were made in Japan, but certainly the whole watch was not. Citizen does make some watches in their entirety in Japan, but this isn't one of them, and most of them aren't. Anyway, let's get some of the specs out of the way right away. The case diameter is quite large on this one. It's about, why can't I see that? It's about 45 millimeters. The lug width is just about 22 millimeters. So that's the same as the regular Promaster Tough, and it's about 53 millimeters over the lugs. So that's pretty similar. And it's a bit thicker than the Promaster Tough, the standard Promaster Tough, at 13.5 millimeters, but that's still not terribly thick. Now, one of the reasons it's a little bit thicker than the standard Citizen Promaster Tough is the fact that while the Citizen Promaster Tough, the standard three-hand model, features monocoque case construction, there's no separate case back to the watch, which keeps it quite thin. And that is really one of the defining characteristics of the Promaster Tough. The Promaster Tough chronograph does not feature monocoque case construction. You can see there is a separate case back on there. I think that may have something to do with assembly. It may be too difficult to assemble a chronograph movement into a watch case through the front and include the pushers and all of that. I don't really know. I'll try to do some more research on that before we do the review. The chronograph movement is pretty standard. It looks a bit like a mecha quartz. That is a stepping motor, however. It's ticking at 5 ticks per second, I believe. But as you can see, when I hit the reset, it's definitely not a mecha quartz because it resets in the standard step motor fashion. But that still has a nice ticking, sweeping motion to the second hand. There's no lap feature. If I hit the reset button, even while the chronograph is running, it will just reset to 0. This is just an unboxing, so I don't want to stretch this out too long. Overall, the watch looks very nice. The bracelet is very, very similar to that on the Promaster Tough. Got a lot of paper in here. The case is very similar. We've got these similar angles on the lugs, although the case is definitely a little bit bigger. I think this is about 2 millimeters bigger than the standard Promaster Tough. The bracelet is virtually identical, H-link construction. The difference, of course, being that the center links on the Promaster Tough chronograph have this checkered knurling on them, whereas on the standard Promaster Tough, they're just these plain chiclets, I call them. I don't know if I really like that too terribly much, but I guess it was done to match the knurled crown. The crown on the standard Promaster Tough is just fluted, and then of course there's knurled surfaces on the faces of the pushers. So it kind of all ties together. I was worried this might be a little bit abrasive, a little scratchy, but although the knurling on the center links is very clearly defined, it's also quite smooth to the touch. So I'm not too worried about that doing any scratching. Hopefully the watch itself isn't going to get scratched up too terribly. This does have Citizen's Duratect titanium nitride plating on it. I talked a little bit about that in the unboxing of this watch. This watch developed a few scratches on the bracelet relatively quickly, in less than 24 hours. But now, over the last week, I've been plowing snow and shoveling snow and spreading salt and doing all sorts of other sort of strenuous outdoor activities. And I haven't acquired any new scratches on this watch, not even on the clasp, which is a very prone to scratching type area on a watch bracelet. So I guess I must have just gotten against some hard stuff on that first day and scratched up the bracelet a little bit. But it does look like it's going to hold up pretty well. So I'm going to start putting this watch through its paces, and after I've had a chance to review it, we'll take a closer look at it, and I want to do a head-to-head comparison against these two watches, one against each other, and also of the Victorinox Inox. So I think that's about as long as I can make an unboxing. Let's move back over to the bookshelves and wrap this up. So at first glance, the Citizen Promaster Tough Chronograph, the ca0720-54h, looks very promising. It does remind me an awful lot of the standard Citizen Promaster Tough. I can't wait to get it on the wrist and start beating it up a little bit just to see how it holds up. I've got one more unboxing to do. Hopefully that'll be coming out next week. And then you're going to start seeing reviews of some of these watches going into the spring. I'd like to do a couple of head-to-heads. And I have a couple of other products that are not watches, which I also want to take a look at. And when I do that, I hope to see each of you here then. Later, guys.